here is specifically what Trump wanted to do. And if you clicked on the stream, you probably already know what it is. He effectively wanted to invade Mexico. So around the same time that this was going on with Stephen Miller, Mr. Trump pressed his top aides to send forces into Mexico itself to hunt down and wage war against the drug cartels, much like American commandos have tracked and killed terrorists in Afghanistan or Pakistan. So first of all, that's not okay. Now, in some cases, it's been with the approval of the governments. I mean, with Afghanistan, it's a really weird case because obviously they're inextricably tied with us. In Pakistan, sometimes with their approval, but still, we probably shouldn't be doing it. With Mexico, Mexico had no interest in this at all. He wanted to just send them in and fight the cartels. What, like you think it's like a mile over the border and that, oh good, we just a mile? Like how far were they gonna go? How many people were they going to send? And apparently he was only stopped from doing this because it would look like an act of war against one of our closest allies and biggest trading partners. Which by the way, is what it would be because they had no interest in this. It would be invading another sovereign nation as we routinely do. Generally, we don't do it with Mexico. And I will remind you, again, this would be happening during a pandemic and during a presidential election. He was going to effectively invade our neighbor to freak people out, to scare them about the drug war. Because they know, generally the maxim is that, during wars, you don't switch horses midstream or whatever. Like, military stuff gets people worried. That there was a movie about that back in the 90s. This is what they were trying to set up. And again, thankfully they were stopped from doing it, but there is like almost no end to the insanity, what they were willing to use our soldiers to do to benefit them politically. I will remind you of his constant desire to deploy tanks and things like that in military parades. The soldiers are just props to them. They are tools to pursue their own ends.
And those ends, I'm sorry, white supremacy is a hell of a drug. There is a reason why they think there's something like this can happen. They can send troops to go and invade another country, just illegally, just run up and invade to take out the cartels. Because again, there's many indications of the way he thinks and how it transitions into policy. So remember his the Central Park 5 thing. After it was very obvious that those guys didn't do any of that, it was still, well, they must have done something. That was Trump's take on this. Yeah. They must have done something. There were 5 black guys. So in this case, there's no thought of, hey, so if we send troops into another country and our neighboring country illegally invade it and start killing the cartels, there's no thought that there's humans that have nothing to do with cartels that are dying because of your invasion. And the cartels are just so easy to recognize because you walk up and they've got this hat on that says, I'm in the cartel. Because there's this weird explanation to think that this will just work so cleanly and easily because he thinks, hey, they're all the cartel because they're damn Mexicans. That's how he thinks. It's the first part of his entire agenda when he went down the damn escalator. They're all bad people. Let's kill them. That's all it was. It was an actual thought process to carry out what he promised from the very beginning. That's what he thinks. Rules and international laws be damned. I'm Donald Trump and I'm a white guy. I can do what I want.
Yep. And thankfully, got rid of him. Maybe he'll be back. We'll have to see. I want to remind you of something that I've mentioned this 9 times on the show, and we as a country just moved past it, and I'll never understand how we did. But Trump had demanded a wall with flesh-piercing spikes, repeatedly mused about a moat filled with alligators along the border, and asked about shooting migrants in the leg as they crossed the border. His aides had considered a heat ray that would make migrants' skin feel hot. And you might recall Trump was asking about what paint they could use that would make the wall as hot as possible so it would burn people as they crossed it. But he wanted people to be eaten by alligators. He is James Bond villain level out of his effing mind, and he could be president again. We'll find out. By the way, related news, because while Joe Biden is not sending 250,000 soldiers to the border or doing the flesh-piercing spikes, he's hardly great in it. They've considered to use the public health exemption that Trump has been using to effectively deport literally everyone that comes to the border. Also, they're going to be taking steps to restart by mid-November a program begun under Trump that forced asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for US court hearings after a federal court deemed the termination of the program unjustified. In this particular case, they don't seem to be in the wrong. They canceled it. And then a judge said, no, you can't do that. You got to start it up. And they're apparently working on that while continuing to try to challenge it. But I just want you to understand that partly consensually and partly non-consensually, the situation on the border is better, but not that much better than it was under Donald Trump. There's some stuff that they can't do or that they have had reversed, but there's a lot that they still could do that they're choosing not to. So if you cared about what was going on under Trump, the insanity with the gators and the soldiers invading Mexico, you should care about this stuff too.
Well, even the people that are criticizing Biden's policies at the border, many Republicans know, it's based in just criticizing him and then going, here, let's vote him out. Fine, criticize him for things he's doing at the border. What should we do? Invade? Have a $250,000 military person wall? What is the solution then? Because when Trump was in office, they didn't have a solution outside of these vicious policies like this that wouldn't do much. So what's? Are you looking for the answer or are you looking for something to run on? It's always the question.
Yeah, always something to run on, never something to do.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.